Hey, I'm Matt Manning. Thank you so much for joining me for today's devotional. We're going to talk today about the word simplify. Simplify. When our lives are filled with worry and stress and we're just chasing after that next paycheck, we're chasing after the American dream just to be wealthy, we can find our lives being extremely distracted and overwhelmed and complicated at times. There is the second law of thermodynamics, which states this: as one goes forward in time, the net entropy, the degree of disorder, of any isolated or closed systems will always increase, or at least at the same time stay the same. So what exactly does that mean? That means this, that things naturally move toward chaos, not towards order. Now you can look at any child's room and you'll see that to be true. You can look at people's their garage or the basement. For most people, things like closets and drawers and places in their house, attics, they don't tend toward order, they tend toward disorder. And it takes time to go ahead and clean and organize and put things in bins and put things in their place. But a couple weeks ago, I confessed to Amanda as I was standing there, we were making our bed one morning, and I was looking at her side of the room and I was looking at my side of the room, and I said, I have to say that I really used to think that I was kind of a organized person, that I had stuff in its place, and I'm obviously not that one in the relationship. And she stood up and she looked back with me and she laughed and said, it's taking this long to figure that out? And so we had a good laugh. But as I looked at my side, I had stacks of books and I had note cards and different things for jotting down ideas. I had a whole pile of socks I was making to the Bamba gods. And so on her side, she had a bottle of water, and she had a picture frame of us from our wedding day, and she had just a couple of books there that she was reading, nice, clean, and tidy. What we find in our lives, if we're not careful, things begin to get so complicated, and we move away from having a simplified life, not a simplistic life, but from having clarity in our lives. We're going to talk today about how do you bring a simplification to our lives when life becomes overly complicated. There are three items that we have to evaluate about our life. The first thought is this. The first thing we have to evaluate, the first step, is to decide your focus. To decide what is your focus in life. What has God called you to do? What has God purposed in your heart for you to go after? If you don't have clarity in your calling, it's going to overwhelm your life of all the different options. You're never going to know when to say no, what boundaries to have, or on the other extreme, you're never going to be open up to the right opportunities because you don't have clarity for what God has called you to do. And so the first step is to decide, what is my focus? What is my calling? The second step is to evaluate your time. How are you using your time? You find that you can be doing something that's really good, but if you're dead tired and fatigued, you're not going to be able to do it very well. And so when it comes to evaluating your time, you have to think about, how am I spending my time? How am I spending my energy? And how am I focusing on my priorities? Can I be at my best and do my best when I'm at my best? And so the goal is with this, when you evaluate your time, to do what you're best at when you're at your best. With that first thought of find your focus, and the second thought is to go ahead and evaluate your time. The third step is this, is to evaluate what season you're in. If you're in a season, maybe you are just kind of coming up through, maybe coming through high school or into college, or you're just starting your career, that's a very different season than somebody who has young kids in the home, or somebody who has kids that are leaving the home, or somebody who has grown children and has grandkids or great-grandkids. That's a whole different season of life. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, it says, to everything there's a time and a purpose under heaven. And so we have to ask ourselves, what season of life am I in, so that I can go ahead and simplify what I'm trying to accomplish and do? Are there things that you're trying to accomplish in this season that really would be much simpler, much easier for you to accomplish in a future season of your life? As we consider this, Matthew 11:28, Jesus talks about this to the disciples. He says, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. When we begin to simplify our lives and what we're focused on and how we're using our time and evaluating what season of life we're in, we can find that our life can go from being so overwhelmed by worry, and we can stay focused and to avoid the distractions that tend to crowd out and complicate our lives. Thanks so much for watching the devotional today. We'll see you next time.